You've just finished dinner, maybe something a bit heavy on the carbs or a sweet dessert, and about 20 minutes later, the ringing in your ears starts to intensify. It's not just the usual background static you've grown used to. It's a sharp, piercing whine that feels like it's vibrating deep inside your skull, echoing against the walls of your temporal lobe. You might think it's just stress from a long day, or that you stayed too long in a noisy environment earlier, but what's actually happening is far more physical and far more dangerous than a simple phantom sound. Your auditory system is currently reacting to a massive spike in your blood glucose, and that ringing is the literal sound of your nerves being caramelized by excess sugar. Most people spend years treating tinnitus as a mysterious ear problem, trying different drops, expensive oils, or white noise machines, while completely ignoring the fact that their internal blood chemistry is the actual volume knob. If you've noticed that your ringing gets worse after meals, or if you struggle with occasional blurry vision and cold feet alongside that persistent hiss, you aren't just dealing with hearing loss. You are witnessing the early stages of metabolic nerve decay that is slowly dissolving your connection to the silent world. The human ear is home to some of the most metabolically active cells in your entire body, demanding a constant and massive supply of oxygen to function. The stria vascularis, a dense and fragile network of capillaries in your inner ear, acts like a high-powered engine that requires a constant, ultra-pure stream of energy to maintain the delicate chemical balance needed for hearing. When your blood sugar levels stay elevated, even if you haven't been formally diagnosed as diabetic by a standard fasting test, that engine starts to choke and sputter. High glucose makes your blood thick, viscous, and syrupy, much like pouring honey into a precision-engineered watch. It struggles to pass through the microscopic vessels that feed your auditory nerve, which are often no wider than a single red blood cell. Imagine trying to run a high-performance machine on sludge instead of high-grade fuel. The resulting friction, heat, and lack of oxygen cause the nerve cells to fire erratically in a state of panic, creating the high-pitched screaming in your ears. This isn't a glitch in your hearing. It's a distress signal from a biological system that is literally starving for oxygen while being drowned in a sea of toxic glucose. This destructive process is scientifically known as glycation, a silent killer of neurological function. When there is too much sugar floating in your bloodstream, it begins to bond to the proteins in your nerves without the help of enzymes, a process that is irreversible once it reaches a certain stage. It creates what researchers call advanced glycation end products, or AGEs, which act like biological rust inside your veins. Think of this like pouring hot, sticky caramel over a delicate fiber optic cable that carries vital data to your brain. The sugar hardens, the signal gets distorted by the interference, and eventually, the cable itself begins to fray and crack under the pressure. In your auditory system, this means the protective coating of your nerves, the myelin sheath, is being corroded and stripped away. Once that insulation is gone, the nerves short-circuit constantly, sending frantic, high-frequency noise to your brain that has no external source in the physical world. If you don't stop this corrosive process at the cellular level, the ringing will only get louder and more violent as more of those cables melt away. Most people ignore this until the damage is permanent, but you can actually see the blueprint for reversing this neural stickiness and flushing the sugar damage out of your system by checking the link in the description and the pinned comment below. It's a vicious cycle that most medical professionals fail to explain during a standard consultation. When your blood sugar spikes, your body releases a flood of insulin to try and shove that sugar into your cells for energy. But if your cells are already full and resistant, that sugar stays in the blood, damaging the delicate microvessels in the cochlea through oxidative stress. This leads to micro-angiopathy. Essentially, the tiny plumbing in your ear becomes brittle, inflamed, and begins to leak or collapse entirely. Without a steady, clean blood supply, the potassium and sodium balance in your inner ear fluid, which is required to translate sound waves into electrical signals, gets thrown completely out of whack. This chemical imbalance is what triggers those sudden, deafening spikes in tinnitus that seem to come out of nowhere while you're just sitting on the couch. You might think you're just having a bad ear day, but your inner ear is actually suffering from a localized energy crisis. The nerves are screaming because they are literally suffocating in a sea of glucose, unable to breathe or reset their electrical charge. The auditory nerve is like a high-tension power line. When it's healthy, the electricity flows smoothly and silently. But when the caramelization of glycation sets in, the wire becomes frayed and starts to spark. Those sparks are what you perceive as ringing, buzzing, or hissing. The longer your blood sugar remains unstable, the more sparks are generated, until the sound becomes a constant, maddening roar. This is why many people find that their tinnitus is loudest in the early morning, or right after a high-carb snack that causes a rapid glucose excursion. It's the direct result of reactive hypoglycemia, or glucose volatility, that shakes the foundations of your inner ear's stability. As your blood sugar swings up and down like a roller coaster, the pressure inside your inner ear fluctuates, stretching the delicate membranes and irritating the auditory nerve fibers. Over time, this constant stretching and metabolic irritation lead to permanent scarring of the neural tissue. You aren't just hearing a phantom sound. You are hearing the physical sound of your body failing to regulate its primary fuel source in real time. Many people are told by their doctors that there is no cure for their ringing. But that's often because no one has bothered to look at how their metabolism is hijacking their hearing at a fundamental level. The truth is, you simply cannot fix the noise until you fix the caramelization happening in your veins. The damage isn't limited to the ear itself. It also affects the gatekeeper in your brain, the thalamus. This part of your brain is supposed to act as a sophisticated filter, blocking out background noise like the sound of your own blood rushing or the hum of a computer fan. But when the thalamus is bathed in high glucose blood for years, its filtering ability begins to degrade and fail. It loses the ability to tell the difference between a real external sound and the internal static coming from a damaged, sugar-coated nerve. This is why people with high blood sugar often feel like they can't focus in a crowded room or feel overwhelmed by noise. Their brain has lost its neural brake pedal, and its ability to find silence. The internal volume knob is stuck at maximum because the brain's filtering system is quite literally gummed up with metabolic waste. To see how to recalibrate this filtering system and dissolve the sludge that's jamming your neural pathways, you need to follow the repair protocol linked in the description. It's important to understand that you don't have to be obese or have a long family history of diabetes to experience this metabolic ear rot. Modern diets are so saturated with hidden, processed sugars and high fructose corn syrup that even healthy-looking people are often walking around with blood that is biologically toxic to their auditory nerves. This is often referred to as skinny tinnitus, or metabolic dysfunction in normal weight individuals. You look fine on the outside, but your internal microcapillaries are screaming under the pressure of constant glucose spikes that occur after every healthy granola bar or fruit juice. Each spike is like a tiny, microscopic hammer blow to the delicate hair cells in your cochlea that are responsible for capturing high-frequency sounds. Eventually, those hairs become brittle and break under the oxidative stress. Once those hair cells are gone, they do not grow back. The ringing is the final cry of those dying cells before they go silent forever, leaving you with permanent hearing loss and a lifetime of high-pitched phantom noise that never stops. This is exactly why traditional tinnitus treatments like sound maskers, hearing aids, or cognitive behavioral therapy often fail to provide real relief. They are essentially trying to teach you to live with the sound of your nerves being slowly destroyed by your own blood. It's the equivalent of putting on high-quality headphones so you don't have to hear your own house burning down. The real solution requires a deep, systemic metabolic reset that targets the root cause. You have to provide your auditory nerves with the specific rare cofactors they need to shield themselves from the process of glycation and actively repair the myelin sheath that has been stripped away. When you lower the viscosity of your blood and clear out the advanced glycation end products, the turbulence in your inner ear finally subsides. The nerves stop short-circuiting, and the brain's gatekeeper can finally do its job of filtering out the static, allowing you to experience true silence again. This isn't just about going on a diet. It's about precision neural protection and chemical restoration. If you don't take action now, the high blood sugar doesn't just stop at your ears. It moves systematically to your eyes, your kidneys, and your brain's critical memory centers, leading to a cascade of failure. Tinnitus is often the very first warning sign of systemic metabolic failure because the ear's vessels are so much smaller and more sensitive than the ones in your heart or your legs. It is the canary in the coal mine for your entire nervous system. If your ears are ringing, Your body is telling you that your microcirculation is under a coordinated attack. Ignoring it is like ignoring the black smoke coming from your car's engine while you're driving down the highway at 80 miles per hour. You might make it a few more miles, but a total, catastrophic breakdown is inevitable if the fuel source isn't cleaned. You can stop the melting of your auditory nerves and restore the silent, healthy flow of blood by using the targeted strategy available at the link below this video. The auditory system's reliance on glucose stability is so profound that even minor fluctuations can cause immediate shifts in your perception of sound. This is why some people notice their tinnitus changes pitch or volume throughout the day. It's a real-time reflection of their glycemic index. When you eat a high-sugar meal, the osmotic pressure in your inner ear changes as water is drawn out of the cells to balance the sugar in the blood. This dehydration of the inner ear cells makes them hypersensitive and prone to firing without provocation. It's a state of permanent electrical agitation. To break this cycle, you must address the stickiness of the blood itself. You need to ensure that the blood flowing into the cochlea is light, oxygen-rich, and free of the abrasive sugar crystals that tear at the vessel linings. Only then can the inflammation subside and the nerves begin the slow process of re-insulating themselves. Nerves are far more resilient than we were led to believe in the past, provided they are given the exact biological environment they need to trigger their internal repair mechanisms. By stabilizing your internal chemistry and flushing out the sugar sediment that has accumulated over decades, you can significantly reduce the intensity of the ringing. You can actually cool down the inflamed, overactive nerves and allow the brain to reset its internal volume levels back to a normal baseline. This requires a two-pronged, scientifically backed approach, protecting the nerves from any further sugar damage and providing the high-quality raw materials necessary for synaptic repair. When you do this correctly, the background hiss that has plagued your every waking moment can finally begin to fade into the distance, replaced by the peace of a quiet mind. You aren't destined by age or genetics to live in a world of constant, agonizing noise. You just need to stop the caramelization process that is keeping your nerves in a state of constant, panicked vibration. Think about the mental energy you waste every day just trying to ignore the sound. That is energy your brain could be using for memory, focus, and creativity. When your auditory system is under metabolic stress, your entire cognitive performance drops. You feel tired, irritable, and disconnected from the people around you because you are constantly fighting an internal battle against a sound that won't go away. This metabolic exhaustion is a direct result of the low voltage state your brain enters when its power lines are clogged with sugar. By clearing the pathways, you aren't just fixing your hearing, you are reclaiming your brain's processing power. You are giving yourself the gift of mental clarity that has been stolen by years of glycemic instability. Listen to your body tonight when the lights go out and the world gets quiet. If the ringing feels sharper after you've had a late night snack, or if it pulses in time with your heartbeat during a sudden sugar crash, take it as the urgent, biological warning it truly is. Your auditory system is begging for a break from the glucose overload that is destroying its delicate architecture. It's time to stop treating the symptoms with temporary fixes and start addressing the metabolic fire that is fueling the noise from within. You have the opportunity right now to protect your hearing and your cognitive future before the damage becomes irreversible and the silence is lost forever. The path to a quiet mind and a healthy, vibrant metabolism is much closer than you think. But it requires a change in strategy. Take the first essential step to clear the sugar-clogged pathways and silence the ringing by visiting the link in the description or the pinned comment now. The silence you've been searching for isn't found in a pill, a masking device, or a surgery. It's found in the fundamental health of your blood and the protection of your nerves. Stop the decay today and choose a future of peace. Every day you wait is another day that the caramelization process continues to harden around your nerves. This isn't a condition that stays the same. It is a progressive erosion of your sensory world. But the moment you start providing the right cofactors, the body begins to fight back. It begins to dissolve the ages. It begins to dampen the inflammation. And it begins to calm the frantic firing of the auditory nerve. This is the science of neural restoration. It's about moving from a state of survival to a state of thriving. You deserve to hear the whispers of your grandchildren, the sound of the wind in the trees, and the blissful silence of a peaceful night's sleep. Don't let a hidden metabolic glitch take that away from you. The solution is ready. The science is solid, and the results are waiting for those who are willing to look at the truth of their own biology. Click the link below and start your journey back to the world of silence.